everybody. Welcome back to Accepting Reality. I'm here with Jake tonight. Jake, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. So, what's been going on? Anything in the news catch your eye
Nope.
lately?
Nope.
Wow.
Let's get to the schedule. Okay.
Wow.
Let's go.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So,
No, everything's been going good. What about you?
not much. Just taking it, work is work. And
What'd you do tonight?
tonight, my wife and I cooked dinner, and then my wife and I finally, after 4 months of waiting, got our wedding video, like the
Oh, you got video?
videographers.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I think I mentioned that almost every episode, but yeah,
It just took me a little while. What did you make?
I made chicken breasts with rice and Italian green beans.
Italian green beans. Okay, that's good.
Oh, butter
All
and
right.
salt on there. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. All right. This is boring. Hey, I wanna say hi to uh the Canadians
Yes.
who are listening. I like maple syrup as much as you. Um, and A, that's
Well,
it. I just wanted to say A
you
to
know,
my Canadian
you're probably
brothers.
offensive because unlike Steven Crowder, who's actually Canadian American, he can't, he denounces his Canadian citizenship. It's funny. He said he wants to find a way to revoke it, but Canada doesn't let you revoke it. I remember him saying on a show the other day because he's so upset at what Trudeau has done. But yeah, we got listeners from Canada. We have some listeners from Australia. We got some listeners in Japan, even from
Oh,
Tokyo. Yeah.
konnichiwa.
Yeah. Look at you
Konnichiwa, Japanese-san.
knowing all of the languages and all of the
Sorry about
proper culture.
1945.
Yeah, well, let's hope
Anyway.
he probably wasn't alive for 1945, but
Never know.
someone was.
So Australia, we got somebody on Australia?
Yeah, someone from Melbourne. I think it was when we were talking about Australia. If ever we brought up the COVID,
Oh yeah, they're
like the
crazy
restrictions. Yeah,
lockdowns. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
The communist
Hopefully
state.
hopefully you're able to, go outside for more than a few minutes.
They still in some areas, I'm guessing in like the really big like metropolitan areas, they still have that tracking app on your phone where if you get a message, you have to take a picture to show where you are, and if you don't respond, the cops find you, all because your phone is a tracking device.
Yeah. I think that I heard that there's a new variant
Oh
out,
boy.
and I forget the name of it. It sounds like you ever hear about
Variant?
like the spaceships, and they go to like they find different like galaxies or something, but they don't have names for the galaxies. It's just like a number.
Yeah,
It's like S27G8. Okay, that's what this new variant's called or something. It's like hold on, let me look this up. This is like this space. Somehow though, if you have had the vaccine, it covers you, which makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Hold on, new COVID variant. I should have had this up before. It's BA2 subvariant. Omicron.
Nice.
So it's another.
Omicron. It's like a distant relative of Omicron. Gotcha.
It's a second cousin twice removed from Omicron.
Yeah.
BA2.
And we named these by the way Elon Musk names his kids. Gotcha. So
BA2. Yeah, so watch out for BA2. New COVID. Will there be a new COVID wave from BA2?
It will depend who wins the midterms. But yeah.
CNN.
Yes.
I'm going to read that article.
Yeah. Reliable sources with Brian Stelter every night.
America's moving on from COVID, but the new Omicron subvariant is already here, and experts say it's 50% more contagious. Oh
no, you're going to get the sniffles. You okay?
Let's do. What do we know? What does it say?
I'm going to assume if it's in the Omicron family that it's just going to.
It doesn't cause more severe illness, evade vaccinations, or cause earlier infection, according to Fauci.
I thought he wanted to retire. I thought last week he said he's considering stepping down. What happened?
He says he doesn't think they'll see a spike. Again, COVID hasn't gone away. Our focus should be on preparation, not on panic.
Oh, I'm panicking. I'm hoarding toilet paper right now.
You think so? You think that's going to become more?
While I'm recording this, we are in Costco and we are buying toilet paper.
Oh, okay. Okay. Where you're talking about toilet paper, and then you said, as we're recording this, I
No.
thought she's going to go somewhere.
No.
All right. Let's get off this Omicron variant topic. I don't want to talk about the 34th variant.
Nah, it's old news. Okay. Now it's either Russia, or I don't know if you've seen, but there's Supreme Court justice hearings. Yeah.
That's right. All the Republicans are going at her.
She's an interesting character. Did you see she couldn't define what a woman is because she's not a biologist? So
yeah, I did see that. But then wouldn't a biologist say that a woman is somebody with female
anatomy? Yes.
Anatomy and can have babies.
Yeah. So, they're the ones of our species that can, bear children or offspring. Yeah.
Right.
But you can't say that because she's radical left. And I'll just be honest. You can look at who she's tied to. She's blatantly tied to Black Lives Matter.
That's good. Well, they're a good organization. I don't blame her for that.
Yeah.
Good for her. Good for her. Good for her. Black Lives Matter.
I mean, she's completely, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think she should be on the Supreme Court. Now, I'm interested to see who votes which way, because Senator Manchin from West Virginia has pretty much gone against everything this administration has tried to do, to the point where they said he is single-handedly derailing it. Like, that's bad when your own party says that you're the problem out of all 50 people. So I'm curious how he's going to vote.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think, like, who was it today? Lindsey Graham.
Oh, that guy's a piece of work.
Yeah, he was talking about like egging her on and was going at her about a whole bunch of stuff. And I don't know if that was the best of the way he was wording it. And he kind of sounded like a crazy person.
He was, he was almost like vindictive too. Like he wouldn't let her finish a sentence. Like that was really bad. Like, I think Ted Cruz's like questioning was the best. And I don't know if you saw, he brought in these giant like billboards or like plaques like that. That's really good. And he seemed respectful. He let her answer, but it's Lindsey Graham, man, he's crazy.
The Republicans had said before that they were not going to berate her like Democrats did to Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett. So they're not really going along with that.
No, they're definitely not.
But we'll see. I don't know. We're interested to see how it goes.
Now,
because I don't think that she'll be. I don't think she. Here's the one thing with me. She hasn't shown that she's very. Like she doesn't seem like she's sticking up for herself very much.
No, she isn't.
She just kind of takes it. But we'll see. We'll see. That'll be interesting.
How do you think getting this Supreme Court justice in will affect the midterms, or will it affect it at all? Do you think like people will be more pleased with the Democrats? Because every political analyst that has shared their 2 cents expects the Republicans and conservatives to just wipe out in this next election. They're just expected to just wipe the floor with them. I don't think that'll happen as big as everyone's saying.
No, it never does.
Yeah, it never does. Like
I remember when Mitt Romney was against Obama in 2012, and I remember everyone was saying that was going to be a landslide for Romney.
Yeah, that guy's
obviously didn't happen. So I don't think it'll have that much impact, to be honest with you. I think people are more focused on, or as much focused on, what's going on with the Supreme Court, not just the new person that possibly come in the nominee, but who is it? Clarence Thomas, is still in the hospital? They say he's doing better, right?
Yeah, he's recovering. He just needs to stay there because I guess he had like an infection, so he needs like antibiotic treatment. So,
but no, I don't think it'll have too much impact on it. I don't see how people. I think most people now kind of have made up their mind and have enough sample size of both the left and the right to make a good enough informed decision. I don't think anybody really needs any more proof of any, one way or the other to know which side they're going to vote for. So
I think there'll be like any late switches that everyone, like if the election was today as opposed to November, nobody would really change.
I don't think so. There's just let's say what it is. There's stupid people that are going to vote, and the dumb people they're not gonna change their vote no matter
Yeah.
what somebody does. I mean, a Republican could, you know, punch somebody in the face on live TV, and they'll say, you know what, he had a point. He had a point. Look at what this lady was doing to him. So they don't care. So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one point, like we've talked about over and over, how divided everybody is. I've made it very clear to people that if the parties flipped, my vote would flip too. I'm
right,
not, I'm just
right.
voting for who aligns with closest to my Catholic values and my American values. And whoever aligns closest with that gets my vote. I don't care what letter or what color they're associated with.
Yeah, I know. It's to be honest with you, it it's not the lesser of two evils, but both sides aren't perfect. It's just that the Republicans are a little more perfect than the Democrats are.
For
Obviously, because
now,
of things like abortion and Second Amendment and stuff like that. But yeah, exactly. For now, I mean, they've flip flopped for years. So
I mean,
right
remember
now
that
they're on a good track.
a Republican started the Great Depression. Good old
Yeah,
who
exactly.
lending out money to everybody because that wasn't going to end poorly.
And they told him too. They
I
said
know.
he had like the 10 top financial experts in the country because I don't say it's in a fun, well, it is funny because everyone was dead when I was around, but so no one cares. The thing is that he won in a landslide in the
Yes.
election in 1928. I think he won like 512
I think he won
to like
everything but
4
two
or
states.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Washington D.C. and Maine or something. And so then he used credit forever, and then they were like, "Dude, this isn't good. You should probably stop doing this because if you do, it's going to be like one of the worst collapses in modern history." He was like, what are you gonna do?" And they just kept doing it, and then they just, people were worth like, I think the maximum that a middle class person was earning was 10 cents a day during the Great Depression or something. So
Yep.
it's he's not that good. He's got a bad record. Poor little Hoover.
I mean, he has a big dam named after him in Nevada, Utah. I don't even know where the Hoover Dam is.
Utah, yeah.
That's how American I am.
Hoover Dam. Well, they were definitely saying that when they went to go
Yeah.
to the grocery store.
Oh, they were sure they were saying a lot worse when they were standing in the bread lines because they couldn't even afford the grocery store.
Yeah. So both parties have their issues. One just has more issues now and more concerning issues, I would say, than the other. But that's why you just kind of have to, you got to watch, don't be too far one-sided or else you're going to be like that person who's going to watch a Republican punch somebody in the face on live TV and not care at all.
Well, yeah, you gotta actually. I go back to the verse from the Bible. I think actually this was one of the words of Christ: "By your fruits you shall know them." Like you just watch their actions and what do they stand for, and then you should support the people that stand for the good and stand for virtue, not for the ones
Right.
who want to deny reality and slaughter babies and take away your weapons. That's I don't know if that really goes with what Christ said. I don't know. I could be wrong. I know there's some
Well,
strange interpretations nowadays.
what do you think is more dangerous? Somebody who looks at both sides of the argument, just in general, for who they're going to vote for, makes their own decision based on all the information they can get. Like they really try to find out.
Yeah.
They're impartial both ways until they figure what out. Okay, that person or the person who says, "Well, I'm always a Democrat, and I'm just going to vote Democrat because I'm a Democrat." Now it's you could say that person is because they're not doing themselves any favor by trying to seek the truth, but the other person you could say might be more dangerous because how could they impartially look at both sides and still go to the now liberal side?
Well, that's just it. Humans, whether we like it or not, our emotions play a factor in our decision. We can say we're the most level-headed and objective person, but something always plays at your emotions when you're gathering information. That's why the media tries to, what's the word, sensationalize everything to make you agree with them, because they know that if they don't have a very good logical argument, they can win you emotionally because it's a lot easier because of how emotional we are as creatures. It's
Yeah. Do you think that was always like people voting for one side because they always have, and really not searching for more information? Do you think that started recently, or do you think that was just kind of always in the back of people's heads?
I'm thinking it started about in like the 60s. That's my guess.
Okay.
Because for example, Lyndon Johnson wasn't a very popular Democrat, but every Democrat voted for him to get
Right.
reelected. That's the, and then you kind of see that and then, people who voted for Nixon defended Nixon, even though he violated all the laws, and he possibly could have withheld peace talks to get himself elected again. It's stuff like that.
Like how many, something to look up, since 19, let's just say since World War II, the end of World War II, how many two-term presidents, 8-year presidents have there been?
Quite a few, most
I
of them
mean,
actually.
I think George Bush was not.
He was a
He
one
was only
term.
4. Carter was 4, right?
Yep, because we had you.
And yeah.
We're living through part 2.
Yeah, and then I think otherwise, I mean, Ford, he doesn't count.
No,
But
he was just a fill-in or
I
little.
don't
He
know
was a
if
scrub.
anybody else was. Well, Trump, obviously.
But he's gonna try to be like, is it Grover Cleveland? That's
won twice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's absolutely running in 24. You can say we predicted it if you want, but it's pretty obvious.
We'll see. I don't know. We'll see how he does. He'll definitely put his hand in there, see how much support he'll get.
But other than Bush, Carter, and Trump, I don't think there was any other one-term presidencies. Because Eisenhower was twice. He was after. Was Harry Truman might have only been one. Oh no, he was 2. He was 42 to 50, because
right, and then
FDR was elected a third. Yeah.
Yeah, right, and then it was John F. Kennedy. Well, he died, but he was 1. And then when did Nixon get elected?
68.
And then there's Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so technically Lyndon Johnson, right? He was only 1
and a half.
He took over
for
Kennedy in 63. But then he would have still had to have, because he would have won the election in 64.
He won a standalone election in 64.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and then Nixon, so I mean that's not, it's almost split, I would say, but so maybe there kind of has been a turn of that. But it's interesting because a lot of presidents may be Democrat, maybe Republican, but it's interesting how people vote sometimes based upon what the last president did. So, like for instance, they may vote for a party because of how
the last party
the
did.
Same party, or the opposite party. I mean, Reagan was in for 8 years, and then the country continued to stay on that line, but then they switched. Then they stayed Democrat for 1, and then they went back to Republicans. So, I mean, it's kind of been alternating, but there hasn't been one clean, there hasn't been a 20-year period in a while where it's been at least 20, 30 years at least, where it's been one party that's just dominated. It's always kind of flip-flop.
Yeah. Oh, that's partially because of America being the only free country. That people say that in other countries, we have freedom. How come the same party wins every year? You know what I mean? Like we have real, genuine discourse and opposition. Well, we used to. Now you can't really do that. And that leads me to another point that I had. Do you think if John F. Kennedy was a politician today, do you think he'd be Democrat?
I don't know if he would identify it what Democrat is now.
I don't think he would. I think a lot of like his beliefs and stances are a lot of what the current Republicans say. Like the lower the taxes, we don't want to get involved in war unless you're Lindsey Graham and you want someone to assassinate Putin.
Yeah. I think he probably. I don't think he would. I do think though that whether or not he is Republican or Democrat, he would win.
Yep.
But no, I don't think he would. Or he would be a radical on the opposite side of the spectrum,
Yep.
radical Democrat. He'd be a more conservative Democrat. So maybe he would. I don't know. It just kind of depends on how
Hmm.
much you'd want to identify with that party, how much support he'd get.
Yeah, because he actually lowered taxes. Fun fact,
Yeah,
people, a Democrat lowered taxes. That's not, you don't associate those two things in the present day of American politics, but
yeah. There's a reason why why people were so upset when he got assassinated, because he changed so much, and they thought he would change even more in his second term, because he would have gotten reelected. There was no question about it in 1964. But he was popular, that's for sure.
and now we have a system that no one can get along in, which leads me to another question. Do you think the right or left have gotten more radical since Kennedy? Let's use that as like the jumping off point, because that does seem to note a lot of change in America. You had the Civil Rights Act, then you had the debacle that is known as Jimmy Carter a few years later. Um, so if you look at it from a pure policy standpoint, which party has gotten more radical, or would you say they both have?
No, I think honestly that Trump changed the way politics was played. And I think that from 1963 to 2016, I don't think there was much radical change where you could differentiate one of the over the other. But I
Uh-huh.
think that since 2016, the Democrats have been far more radical. I think that they've sort of, I can't like explain a certain instance, but I think they maybe took one instance, or they tried to do something where it was like pushed something that was accepted, and once it got through, that they thought, well, we could just kind of keep doing things like this, and now they just kept going. I mean, that's why we have transgender is so much more of an issue now than it was
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 years ago. I mean, I don't remember. I mean, I wasn't involved in politics very much before Trump because I couldn't vote, but I don't really remember these hard issues being talked about or being publicized as much as they are now. So I would say you could go back as far as Lincoln. I don't think that it's been much different between the two parties, but I think when the world kind of changed because of how Trump approached the election, I think it's been Democrat for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. And it's also pretty fair of you because most people on the right will not admit that Trump's rhetoric and mindset really changed things. And I'm a very open Trump supporter, but I could tell he ruffled feathers, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean he would go on the campaign trail when he was um, in 2016, and he would talk about fellow candidates and call them names or whatever he would do, and then they would get up there at the beginning of the debates and say how he called them names and how unprofessional it was, and then cut 5 minutes later, and they were doing the same thing about him.
Uh-huh.
He just would pull him into his own game. So he definitely changed the way things were, because it was that first time, that real first time where people, I think, saw somebody campaigning and thought he's saying what we're thinking,
Yeah, I was
and
just gonna say that.
he
Everyone
really
felt
pushed that,
related. Like they actually could relate to him more personally.
and he never
Like,
changed.
yeah, no,
He,
he
did, he
still
didn't
hasn't.
he didn't wait till he got elected and then he changed. I mean, he was always like that. So I think people could relate to that, like you said. So I think that was why.
I mean, he wouldn't even shake Pelosi's hand at his last State of the Union. I don't know if you remember
Yeah,
that. He
yeah,
refused to shake her hand.
yeah. I wouldn't want to. I want to talk about BA2 COVID variant. You can shake that hand. Who knows? You're gonna get QXRW, whatever. I mean, it's like I wouldn't want to do it either. I don't blame him.
When she like got up and started like rubbing her hands together in like a
Oh,
weird
she's a
way.
nutcase. I
Yeah.
don't know what is her problem. She is so crazy. I can't even look at her. Like, there was one time,
Eyes. Her
every
eyes.
every day in the morning. In the morning, I have a cup of. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink tea. I have juice. So
Okay.
every morning, I have juice. Now, there's acid in juice, and I think what it does is sometimes it upsets my stomach. Okay,
Okay.
and it's just kind of a normal thing. And about 10 o'clock, it goes away. Now, one day I ran out of juice, so I didn't have juice, and I was driving to work, and I get to work, and I clock in, and I'm looking at my phone, because that's what you do when you're at work. I was looking at my phone.
Very true.
And I was watching a video and I saw her do that hand thing. And oddly enough, I still had the same reaction with my stomach as I did when I had juice. So I just can't look at her. She's like a psychopath. And she's like 140 years old. She's had like at least 25 facelifts. And I'm getting that reaction now.
Remember that picture I sent you that when she was at JFK's inauguration dinner? She was 20 years old then. She's 80 years old.
Yeah. I know.
She's Speaker of the House of the United States. She's she's third in line to be president of the United States of America. She's 80 years old, and she doesn't look like she has control of all of her limbs during the State of the Union.
Term limits, put them in now. Yeah, I don't even want to talk to.
That's a good. The term limits is a good thing. Obviously, you and I think we both agree that the founding fathers did a phenomenal job when they formed this nation with the Constitution and the laws and stuff like that. Besides term limits, since you already brought it up, what do you think some things that they missed or they should have done?
Well, you know what? I'm going to give you an answer that's not a good answer, but I don't think that there's anything that I can criticize about them. And here's why. And this is why I tell people about the Second Amendment. Because I say, do you realize how difficult it is to, let's just say any company. Imagine your company makes a rule that's going to get put into the bylaws. And let's say your company lasts for 50 years and that rule doesn't change. I'm not talking about like philosophies or values the company has. I'm talking about an actual rule and a policy that they have. And if you go 50 years, that policy will likely change at some point. So you're talking about these guys put together these set of rules and this government that they had to make with the intention of it lasting a long time. And it's lasted 200 and some odd years.
Yeah.
So I don't think I could even point to one thing, only because they made these amendments. And this is why I use the Second Amendment as an example. They made that rule knowing probably that technology was going to become more advanced and it was going to be a lot harder for people to defend themselves against the government if they didn't have any means to defend themselves. So, I mean, the same thing with free speech. I mean, they had to have had some idea and to say, listen, we can't, like, this is why they didn't put an amendment, when you have two slaves and your farm is worth this much, it goes to the nearest doctor with the most chickens. Like it wasn't specific to the time. They did it for the future.
Yeah.
So
they did. They left them all vague with that intention. So
I can't even criticize anything that they would have done different. I don't know if you can't, like, if you can think of something, but even if they made mistakes, I mean, you're talking about trying to build the foundation for a country that you're going to hope that's going to last hundreds of years.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. The only one that I could think of, like I said, is the term limits, because, like you said, they did a phenomenal job on everything else that you possibly could think of, because we're still living here today and we are the most powerful country in the world for now, because of their foundation. I always say this to people, and I remember I got into a bit of an argument with someone in college about this. What other country has the innovation that America has?
Right.
Didn't we invent the plane too? Weren't the Wright brothers from America?
Ohio.
That's
right, from Ohio.
Yeah. So like airplanes, us. Didn't we
printing
invent
press, light bulb?
Yeah, printing. Yeah, light bulb. No, the printing press is a lot longer than that. That was like the 1500s, I think.
Oh, that's not. What about the phone? We did the phone.
Telephone, I think, was Canada technically, but I don't know where he lived.
Really?
I thought it was either North America, like Northeast United States, or Canada, but I could be wrong. But electricity, I'm pretty sure, was here. And the biggest advances in like financial systems too. Like, I don't think people realize that. I'm going to brag a little, hit my little nerdy side. All accounting was started here, like the major accounting stuff. So shout out to American accountants.
Yeah. Okay. Go on, David.
So that's what I think about. Like, what the number one export of Denmark is? You ready for this one?
Sheep.
Close.
What is it?
Yep. Yeah.
What is it?
So Legos, like the little Lego blocks, like the little sets.
Oh,
Yeah, that's their number one
interesting.
thing.
Legos. Okay, that's kind of cool.
So,
You know,
but
what is
thinking
that, like
about
cocaine
all
or
the
something?
stuff that we, no, that's South America. Think about like that's their number one thing. How many things, and it's not even close when you get to like the 80s on with technology, like Steve Jobs was here, Bill Gates was here, Michael Dell was
Right.
here, Jeff Bezos was here, all these people who invent things like I have an iPad in front of me, I have an Xbox around here, I have 3 computer screens, and all of this was started.
Nerd.
Yeah, well,
I don't even. Yeah, I mean it's and two, it's even if you go look at just the history. I mean, the economy that was set up well, for Hoover, but
James
the
Buchanan.
economy that was set up, the Industrial Revolution. I mean, you've had periods where we've always been the leaders in one way or another. So
Yeah.
and it's just how it is. So I mean, you have a country that's fortified by this Constitution and Declaration of Independence and these Bill of Rights that were made in what 250 years ago. So that's pretty incredible. So I can't even say that because you have to expect them to make mistakes. You have to. It's just
Yeah, they're human.
some things
Yeah.
will not be applicable that far into the future, but they did pretty good. But I mean, again, it's just if you were to make those rules and like if somebody was to give you the power to make a new country now, and you need to make rules that are going to be applicable in the
Long
year
after I'm gone.
2370.
Yep.
I mean, you would most likely probably copy a lot of the amendments that were we have, because they work.
Oh, they do. And I think the reason they work, and a lot of people on the left and right get aggravated when you say this, is because they openly acknowledge that they were created by something.
Yeah.
Like they openly admitted it. That's why In God We Trust is on every piece of currency that we produce.
Right.
People don't realize the amendments are only there, and the Constitution are there, and the Declaration are there only to affirm the rights that the founding fathers knew were bestowed upon each person through God. They said the creator because obviously there was Protestants, there was Catholics, there was Puritans, there wasn't just one. We're not a one religion, we're not a theocratic state. So that is the root of it, because no other country does that. No other country has rights given to you by the creator. They're given to you by government, and that means government can also take them away. And that's what people need to realize, is that whether you like it or not, without these founding fathers having a belief in God, we don't have the greatest country the world has ever seen.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that sort of ties into that, why it's so important that people are aware of what the government, I'm not even just going to say just liberals, try to do now, because they're inching on that line of taking away things that are basic for us. So I think just people have to just be more aware, and that's why it's important to know the history of why we have these amendments, and they're not just because somebody said, oh, this is a good idea to do this, oh, this is a good one too. I mean, they had specific purposes.
No, like some of them fully believe that these rights cannot be infringed by any human, because we are created by God, and these are things that God has given us. And I wish they had been a little more specific, saying just God given, but I understand why, because like you said, who knows, they probably didn't know in 300 years would people even still believe in God. So again, they had to make sure it would be understood for the test of time.
Yeah, and I think so. It reminded me of the Second Amendment, and this is kind of one I wanted to bring up to end this episode. So I think yesterday or today, I can't remember the exact day, last year, today is the anniversary of somebody who had sadly passed away, but who was a great advocate of the Second Amendment. And I knew him, and I remember I was at work and I saw that there was a notification on my phone from a friend who I went to summer camp with.
Uh-huh.
And the summer camp is in Cincinnati, Ohio, and it's a week long, and it's got kids come from all over the place. I mean, there's a boys camp and there's a girls camp, and you have people coming from Cleveland, Cincinnati, Minnesota, New York, Florida, California, Montana. I mean, they come from all over the place. And he had told me, he goes, "Did you hear the news?" And I said, "What news?" And he goes, "The news from the shooting in Colorado." I said, "No." And so he goes, "You remember Aaron Talley?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, his dad, Eric Talley, who I knew as a cop, was the first responder at the shooting at, I believe, a grocery store."
Yeah,
and
it was like a convenience store.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And was unfortunately killed. Now, I knew Eric because he and his son Aaron, who's I think probably around my age, maybe a tiny bit younger, they would come to Cleveland every Holy Week for the last few years. And they would come with Father Greenwell, and they would stay here. And, they're from Colorado. I don't know how they got associated with the church, with us, or with Cincinnati, but he started to come out. And I think the one story I wanted to share about him was that, and this kind of embodies the kind of person he was. He had come on, I think, Wednesday night of Holy Week, and they flew in, and I was there setting things up as the sacristan, and it was busy, really, really busy, and I had a lot to do. And Father Greenwell gets there with Aaron and Eric, and they're about to have dinner. Now, this is probably about 8:00. So I'm there, and I didn't really know that they were going to come at that point, but I kind of figured. And so Father says, "Why don't you come up to the apartment with us and just have dinner?" And they said, "We got extra food." I said, "I'm good. I already ate. Unfortunately, I'm not 59 yet, so I have to fast." So I said, "Sure, I'll come up for a little bit." And he said, "I don't want to take away from your work." I said, "No, that's fine. I could, that's fine." So I go up there, and we were just talking about just normal things. And in the conversation, Eric had said that they got up at 4 in the morning, Colorado, which is mountain time.
Yep.
Flown to, I don't know where he said, maybe Chicago. Maybe there was a direct flight. I'm not exactly sure, but he said there was like a 6-hour layover. Oof. From when they got to, it must have been Chicago, to go to Cleveland. They just got picked up. Now, at this point, this is about 9:30, and I said, "Okay, I got to go. I got to do my thing. It's nice talking with everybody." And before I leave, he says, "Is there anything that you need help with?" And I said, "No." I said, "I got it for tonight." I said, "I'm not really going to do that much left." And he goes, "Okay, well, we're going to be up for a while, so I'll give you my phone number, and you can text me if you need help." And he said, "We'll also be here throughout the week." And I said, "That's great." And every day, Thursday night, Friday throughout the day, and Friday is the busiest day, Saturday, and even Sunday, every single day, he asked me if I needed help. Now, I didn't have any particular help during the week. It was all me, and I could handle it. But for him, to have that long of a day, getting up at 4:00, have a 6-hour layover, take 2 flights, drive to the airport. It's 9:30 at night. He's been up for almost 24 hours. And for him to offer help, and for him to ask each and every day to somebody he just met at a church that he's not part of, when nobody else that is a part of the church asked or offered help, for him to do that, it was sad what had happened to him, because we all knew him from camp, and we knew his son, and he had 7 kids. But
7 kids.
it didn't surprise me that he'd he didn't wait to go help the people in this store, because that's not what he did with me. And I wanted to just use this, and anybody listening, to point out that this was a guy who obviously was completely the opposite of being a selfish person.
Yeah.
I mean, he made the ultimate sacrifice, and he did it for people he didn't know, and he got a lot of support from us in Cleveland. You know, he wasn't a part of it, but when he would come for, I think he came for 3 or 4 years in a row for Holy Week, he became part of it. And there's always a spot in the pew that we've got that's got his name on it. And since he's come to us every single year, and one of the only good parts, I think, about his passing was that it was so publicized that this cop had died, and they used his death to showcase the funeral. And as he was traditional Catholic, they showed a traditional Catholic funeral mass. The priest gave a sermon and was not at all different than one of the priests that what they would have said here in Cleveland. I mean, he was spot on. And he didn't give the, when people pass away, you hear about the priest talking about, well, he's in heaven, so, we celebrate his life and everything. But this priest was very quick to say that we just need to pray for his soul. What he did was heroic, but we all need to remember that we can't canonize him, only God can.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
On this year anniversary, that Eric Talley, one of the nicest guys I've ever met, one of the most helpful, and he took that sense of wanting to help people to the very limit. And I think after his death, I don't remember if they did it or not, but I think Father Greenwell had turned at the camp because he would have helped. He was one of the instructors for shooting.
Yeah.
And they took the shooting range and named it after him. So just a great guy, and somebody that, you didn't have to know, but he would be nice to you and talk to you for an hour like he knew you for your whole life. So I just wanted to use that as the last thing we say, that, we pray for his soul, that he is spending eternity in heaven and with the beatific vision. And we sure miss him here, that's for sure. And then, now that it's coming up on Holy Week, this will be the first year, first full year without him. So
yeah, there isn't much more to be said. There is one piece of scripture that comes to mind every time I hear his story. It's in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 13. Greater love than this no man hath, that a man lay down his life for his friends. That you can't really describe it any better than what he did and what anyone would do when they give their life for someone else. So
yeah, for sure.
I think that's a good note to end on. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Find us on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter at DJ Media, Spotify, and iTunes as well for the podcast Accepting Reality. Thank you for listening, everybody. Rest in peace, Eric Talley. We miss you here, and have a good night, everybody.